husband got videos of me cheating on him when I tried to find out who sent it. I was shocked. Have you ever had a friend who gave you some really bad advice? Well, I certainly have. And let me tell you, it didn't end well for me. There is a phrase that says, rather trust a stone than a human being. They say listen to your inner voice, your soul, than listen to a friend or anyone else, especially if they were giving advice that would destroy your life and what you are building. I hate the fact that I trusted my friend and went ahead with her advice, only for me to be in the deep end and lose everything I was trying to build. My husband didn't do anything to me or anyone for that matter, but I was encouraged by a friend of mine to pull a prank on him, and guess what happened? I lost the most loving and caring person I had ever had. Today, I want to share a story with you that happened to me recently. It's a cautionary tale about the consequences of making poor choices and underestimating the power of karma. I wish I had made the right choice of decision. I wish I didn't even listen to what my friend had advised me on. Now I'm all alone, lonely with no husband and nothing. I can't believe I actually listened to the bad choice and took action on it. I just hate myself for that. I have to admit, though, things have gotten pretty complicated because of my actions. You know, sometimes we do things thinking it would just be a harmless and innocent fun, not knowing that the fun we had would become our worst nightmare. I didn't know it would turn out like how it had turned. I didn't even get a warning, but either way, it became my worst nightmare. I'll be using fake name to protect the privacy of the involved parties. My name is Brittany Smith, female 29, and my husband is Bradley James, male 29. Bradley and I met at Central Park. I was going through a lot that day. I had just lost my parents and things at home were not looking good. So Central Park was the only escape for me. So as I was sitting on the park benches reading my book while listening to music, Brandon came and asked if he could sit. At first I didn't hear him because of the earphone that I had on my ears up until he nudged my shoulder. I gave him the go-ahead to sit on the bench since it was nor occupied. I was reading a book called The White Book, written by Han Kang. I loved reading that novel. It gave me some sort of peace and assurance that everything was going to be fine. Bradley asked me when I had started reading the book. I tried to ignore him, but he kept nudging me and distracting me. I finally gave him my attention, only to find out that he was actually a fan of Han Kang. We talked about the book, and he even introduced me to other Han Kang books. Growing up, I always valued my friendships deeply. My friends were my confidants, my partners in crime, and my support system. When I married Bradley, I brought my friends along into the intimate circle of our marriage. I believed that they could only enhance our lives together, offering support and joy. I had no reason to suspect that this trust would be misplaced. Bradley and I had been married for 5 years. Our relationship built on love, trust, and mutual respect. We shared everything from our dreams to our fears. But as I would soon learn, involving friends in our marriage could bring unforeseen consequences. So I had a friend, her name is Mandy Lawrence, female 29. We had been friends since high school. She was a very wild person. She loved partying a lot while I was just an introvert. I don't really know how we became friends because our personalities do not match. We were way too different. My aunt didn't like her. She would say she's too forward and loose, so she didn't want me to associate myself with her. Despite my aunt's disapproval, I continued being friends with Mandy secretly without my aunt knowing. When I got into a relationship with Bradley, I had scars on seeing Mandy. I was always spending my time with Bradley, not because I didn't like to spend time with Mandy, but Bradley understood me better, you know. He knew what I needed and at what time. Mandy was always out partying. She wasn't available when I needed her the most, but Bradley was there. He would even drop anything that he would be doing and attend to my call. How did I get here? How did I mess such a good thing that was going on between Bradley and myself? I loved my friend Mandy a lot. Heck, I took her as my sister. Everything that she would say to advise me, I could take it, but it would depend on what I was going through at that time. Mandy was the kind of a friend that would tell you what to do and find a way to convince you until you give in. I should have figured out that her advice of making me prank on my husband was because she never liked Bradley and she wanted to test our marriage. She would always find something to say about him. She would make sure to find a fault in everything Bradley did. My friend told me that I could just prank my husband and get away with it because he loves me so much and she wanted to test his love for me. I didn't really know what that meant at the time, but she made it sound like it was a sure thing. At first, I was taken aback by her audacity. How could she suggest such a thing? But as she continued to explain her theory, I found myself intrigued by the idea of getting away with something so forbidden. So I listened to her and started seeing someone behind my husband's back. I thought I was being sneaky, that I had it all figured out. But boy, was I wrong. Sure, my husband was a humble and down-to-earth person, but he was not easily manipulative. I took Mandy's advice because I had thought it was going to be a once-off thing and Bradley was not going to act the way he acted. I wanted to have a little bit of fun and feel how it was to go outside and explore and experience new things that you had never experienced before. So against my better judgment, I decided to follow her advice. I know it was very dumb and very foolish of me to listen to someone who was not married while I was married. I didn't even think of the consequences that would take place when Bradley hears that I had orchestrated the prank that was pulled on him. I just wanted to feel some type of way for a little bit and to see how Bradley would react. I began an affair behind my husband's back, thinking that I would never get caught. Then I pranked him with my friend, telling him that I had found my dream man. I felt invincible, untouchable even. It was supposed to be a harmless joke. So Mandy and I went to this party. It was one of her own friends' parties, and to say it was nice would be an understatement. It was lit, the vibe was there, and everything was just so perfect. As introverted as I am, but I enjoyed that party a lot. Of course, I had lied to Bradley about where I was going because if I had told him, he would have told me not to go. I just don't know what was happening between Mandy and Bradley, but their spirits didn't connect. They didn't like each other, and that was somehow affecting me. I was in the middle of their own beef. So at the party, Mandy introduced me to this certain guy. She introduced him as Lucas Jordan. The guy was really handsome. I won't lie, but he was not as handsome as my husband Bradley. The Lucas guy was so talkative for my liking, and he was a loquacious and a narcissist person. Throughout the whole night that I had spent with him, it was about him and what he finds interesting. The guy was very handsome and all, but he had no brains, just being a foolish narcissist.
Damn it.
Mandy came back and I told her that I wanted to go back home since it was past midnight. I told her that Bradley must be worried about me, especially since my phone's battery had died. My friend, or must I say my so-called friend Mandy, convinced me to stay and told me to let loose a little and be myself, and not act like I was a 50-year-old grandma. After a lot of convincing that she did, I finally gave in. Then she told me that even if I find someone attractive, I shouldn't be scared to explore and enjoy that person. It wasn't like my husband would find out, and she had a better plan, which was to prank my husband. I know I should have defended my husband and not let Mandy's manipulative self get into my head, but what did I do? I just fell straight on her trap, and I was the one who found myself in hot waters. I found myself in the crossroad, not knowing where I was going and where I should go. I shouldn't have allowed Mandy to do that to me in my marriage. But I guess I was too naive to notice that Mandy was actually trying to destroy my marriage. So during that night, the boring Lucas guy and I continued to engage in a casual conversation. I was glad that he had finally stopped talking about himself like he was in a competition with someone or someone was going to tell him that he was lying. Our conversation was smooth. I drank a lot trying to forget about my husband that I had left at home and what Mandy wanted us to do. I got intoxicated and I found myself kissing Lucas. His lips were soft and tender. But one thing that threw me off was the way he was kissing me. He didn't have the skills to kiss. The only thing he was chasing was what was in between my legs.
No.
But another thing, he knew how to explore a woman's body, that I can give him a 10 out of 10. He took me from the party to another planet. I felt like I was floating in clouds. That's how much I was enjoying the way he was exploring my body. I loved every moment of it. Besides the kissing skills, the guy had great body exploration skills and good intimate drive. He made me reach my climax within a few minutes, and I don't know how many times I had climaxed. That's how good it was. The following morning, I realized what I had done. The guilt was eating me up so bad to a point that I was even scared to go back home. I didn't know how I would look into my husband's eyes and act like everything was normal while I had committed such abomination. I hated myself for what I had done, and I was regretting it greatly. I thought to myself that a lot would be destroyed if Bradley was to find out. I had gone out there and jeopardized my marriage and relationship with my husband. I was so angry at Mandy for manipulating me to go to the party and to stay when I said I wanted to go back home. My mind kept telling me that Mandy had planned all of this. She knew what would happen when I agreed to stay. She made me chill with that Lucas guy for a purpose. I couldn't believe myself that I was easily manipulated like that, and I was really scared of the outcomes of my abomination because nothing stays in the dark forever. You know, you cannot sweep off something and put it under the carpet and think it would stay there forever. What happened in the dark will always find its way to the light. That morning, Mandy came out of nowhere. I don't know how she knew where I was, but I didn't put that in mind. I was just happy that she was there, you know. So she came up with the plan that we will call my husband and she would be the one to speak to him. I didn't have any problem with that because it was Mandy and I trusted her. I really thought the prank call was not going to cause any harm because we were just playing. So I let my friend make the call to my husband, pretending to be another man and claiming that I had met my dream guy while out. I was giggling, thinking it would be a funny joke to play on him. So during the day, Mandy told me to send my husband a text and tell him that I won't be coming back home, but I'll come back the following day. I did as told because I was still ashamed and scared of going back home after the abomination that I had done. I felt dirty and my mind was busy playing the events of the previous night. Later that day, a group of close friends and I decided to enjoy a rare evening of fun and relaxation. As a busy professional and a devoted wife, such outings were few and far between. I joined my friends for a night that promised laughter and good times, oblivious to the impending disaster. The atmosphere of the night was vibrant, filled with laughter, music, and the camaraderie that only long-term friendships can bring. We gathered at a popular local bar, its atmosphere a mix of dim lights, upbeat music, and the hum of conversations. As the night progressed, the drinks flowed and the mood lightened. We reminisced about old times, shared stories, and indulged in the kind of carefree banter that adulthood rarely allows. The birth of the idea. Among the group was Mendy, known for her mischievous sense of humor. As the evening wore on, Emma suggested a prank call. It was meant to be harmless fun, a throwback to our younger days when such antics were commonplace. The suggestion sparked laughter and excitement, a welcome addition to our night of revelry. However, the target of the prank and its nature were yet to be decided. The prank call, the proposal. Mendy's eyes twinkled with mischief as she proposed the idea. "Why don't we prank call Bradley?" she suggested. "Let's tell him you've met your dream man tonight." The suggestion was met with laughter, and the alcohol-fueled atmosphere dulled our sense of caution. Despite a momentary hesitation, I found myself agreeing, caught up in the playful spirit of the evening. The execution Mendy took my phone and with a theatrical flourish dialed Bradley's number. The group fell silent, anticipation hanging in the air. When Bradley answered, Mendy launched into her act, adopting a tone of exaggerated excitement. "Bradley," she said, "you want to believe this. I think I've met my dream man tonight." She described an imaginary scenario with vivid detail, portraying me as utterly captivated by this fictional person. On the other end of the line, Bradley's initial confusion quickly turned to disbelief. "What are you talking about?" he asked, his voice tinged with a mix of confusion and rising panic. Mendy continued the charade for a few more moments before the tension in Bradley's voice became palpable. Realizing the joke had gone too far, she hastily ended the call with a laugh, declaring it was all in jest. However, the damage was already done. The immediate aftermath of my return home. When I returned home, the atmosphere had shifted dramatically. Bradley was waiting, his face a mask of anger and hurt. The lightheartedness of the evening vanished in an instant as I saw the turmoil in his eyes. The prank, which seemed harmless at the time, had clearly struck a nerve. My attempts to explain and apologize were met with cold silence, his anger simmering just beneath the surface. The confrontation. The confrontation that followed was intense. Bradley's voice trembled with a mix of anger and pain as he expressed his feelings of betrayal and confusion. "How could you do that?" he demanded. "Do you have any idea how that made me feel?" His words cut deep, each one a reminder of the trust I had so carelessly undermined. I tried to explain that it was just a joke, but the damage was already done. A few weeks later, things reached a breaking point. Mark sat me down one evening, his expression somber and resolute. "I can't do this anymore," he said quietly. "The trust is gone, and I don't see a way to fix this." His words hit me like a punch to the gut. "What are you saying, Bradley?" "I'm saying I want a divorce," he replied, his voice steady but filled with sadness. "I can't stay in a marriage where I don't feel secure or respected." I was stunned, unable to comprehend the gravity of the situation. "But it was just a joke, Mark. A stupid, thoughtless joke." "It wasn't just a joke," he said, shaking his head. "It was what it revealed about us, about you. I need someone I can trust completely, and I don't feel that with you anymore." One day, my husband found out about my affair. He was devastated, heartbroken. I had betrayed his trust and shattered our marriage. He was still angry at the fact that I had let my friend prank call him saying that I had found my dream man. I don't know how he found out about my night with Lucas. I had thought that I had managed to keep things in the dark. Another thing, only Mendy knew about what happened between Lucas and I, so it was just clear that she might have a hand in Bradley finding out about my abomination. But as they say, what goes around comes around. And boy, did karma hit me hard. It didn't take long for my husband to discover my infidelity. The pain and betrayal in his eyes were unbearable, and I knew that I had made a grave mistake. It turns out that karma has a way of catching up with you when you least expect it. And let me tell you, it hit me hard. Only if I had a rejecting backbone, all of this would have been avoided and I wouldn't find myself in the sticky situation. I realized then that my friend's advice was not only wrong, but also incredibly hurtful. I had let her words manipulate me into making a terrible decision. I soon realized that my friend's misguided advice was not only wrong, but also incredibly damaging. I had allowed myself to be influenced by someone who didn't have my best interests at heart. Another thing I was asking myself was how my husband found out about what I had done. Only 2 people knew about my infidelity. It was the person that I had cheated with and my friend Mendy only. I wondered who might have told Bradley about the cheating that I had committed. You know, when Bradley found out about my infidelity, he confronted me about it. Mind you, that time I was still trying to make him forgive me for the prank call saga. And now the cheating bomb comes up. It was a mess, I tell you. I tried to deny it, but my denial was nothing because the man had evidence of what I had done. He had a video of me kissing Lucas. I prayed for him to not find out what had really gone down at that party. He only had the video of me kissing Lucas, and I was glad with that because I would have lost my husband if he was to find out. That's what my mind was telling me. Little did I know that a week later he would get the video. I didn't know who was busy sending him videos of things that I had done. As I faced the consequences of my actions, I learned a valuable lesson about the power of karma. Cheating on my husband not only hurt him, but also shattered the trust and love we had built over the years. Now I'm left dealing with the consequences of my actions. My husband and I are trying to work through our issues, but it's not easy. We had started a couples therapy together. I told him that I was intoxicated and I didn't think about what led me to kiss the guy. That time I was trying to fix my things with my husband because of the kiss situation. But things got out of hand when he received the video of me and Lucas getting it down. I don't know who must have taken a video of me, but whoever took a video had straight intentions of destroying my marriage. And guess what? He or she succeeded because with all the effort that we had pulled up to fix our relationship, it went down the drain and there was nothing I would do about it. My conscience told me that Mandy knew about the video that was sent to Bradley, and I really suspected her. As much as she didn't like Bradley, but maybe she had his number. You would never know with Mandy, but I knew her and how she is. After Bradley received the S** tape, I knew there and then that my marriage was over, and thanks to the person who sent the video to Bradley. And thanks to my nonchalant and ignorant self, I should have known that all of that was a trap. Being stopped to go home when I wanted to go and connecting me with the Lucas guy was all Mandy's plan of making me cheat on my husband. Now I have lost everything I had, and I don't know how I would survive without the only person who understood me for who I was, and not what I had to offer. I tried to apologize to Bradley, but he didn't want to hear any of it. To say he was angry would be an understatement. The man was furious, enraged with the mix of heartbreak. The damage was too high and there was nothing to do in order to fix it. Not even therapy sessions would have helped. I had destroyed the most valuable thing in my life, all because I had let myself get manipulated by a person I called a friend. My heart and mind was not at peace, knowing that someone had a hand in destroying my marriage. So I had to find out who had sent Bradley the videos of me. That person knew how to get Bradley. I wanted to find out who it was so that I would be at peace knowing the truth. I know it wasn't going to fix my marriage and my relationship with Bradley, but I felt like I needed to know the person behind my sorrows. That person had managed to destroy me emotionally and mentally. I went back home since Bradley didn't want me anywhere near him. It was like I was disgusting to him or something. He told me to wait for our lawyer anytime soon to deliver divorce papers because he can't be with a loose person with no common sense. He was angry at the fact that I had lied to him about my whereabouts, and another thing was that I was gone with Mandy to a party. He knew and understood that I am an introvert and I didn't like going out in crowded places, but I had gone with Mandy, which was something that fueled him more. During my investigation, I had found out that my so-called friend Mandy had actually paid the guy Lucas to sleep with me. I just couldn't believe it, you know. So Mandy had decided to sell me to Lucas, all for what? So when I was still reading what I had got during my investigation, it showed that Mandy had been texting someone in a seductive way. My husband, but Bradley didn't pay any attention to her stunts. I then realized that she came up with the prank call plan to cause a rivalry between my husband and I just because she was jealous of my marriage. I was so shocked when I discovered that my friend that I had taken and treated like a sister was actually the same person who had destroyed my marriage, and not to stop there. She was busy seducing my man behind my back. I now understand why Bradley didn't like her and my aunt had warned me against her. I was so naive, and Mandy took advantage of that to destroy me. I was so heartbroken and shuddered. I didn't know what to do because as much as I was heartbroken at the fact that I had cheated on Bradley and he filed for a divorce. Another thing was my separation from my husband. On the other hand, the person I had trusted with my life had betrayed me in the worst way possible. Till today, I am unable to move on from what had taken place. I miss my home, my husband, and how our love used to be. I didn't take any actions regarding what I had found about Mandy, and I decided to just leave her alone and focus on my life. I believed that what was happening to me was actually karma for cheating on my husband. The pain I was feeling when I found out that Mandy was the reason for my marriage to end, it was too deep, and it hurt more than a divorce. I want to forgive myself and forgive Mandy for what she had done and what I had done, but it wasn't easy. It felt like the more I tried to allow myself to forgive and forget, the more I was hurting myself. My divorce with Bradley hasn't been finalized, and I am praying that he comes back to his senses and allows us to try again and fix our marriage. I wish he could give me a chance to rectify my wrongs and fix what is broken. I know I had not only broken our marriage and trust, but I had also broken the heart of the only person who had shown me genuine love and care. Bradley had been there for me throughout everything that I was going through. He had helped me find myself again after my parents' passing and the ill treatment I was getting from my distant family members. My aunt was so disappointed in me when she heard the truth of why I was coming back home, and I don't blame her. Bradley's decision to divorce me set off a chain of events that would turn my life upside down. The legal process was long and arduous, filled with emotional turmoil and financial strain. Despite my attempts to reach a settlement, Bradley was adamant about leaving me with as little as possible. The divorce proceedings were brutal. Bradley's lawyer painted a picture of me as reckless and untrustworthy, using the prank call as evidence of my irresponsibility. My lawyer tried to argue that it was an isolated incident, but the damage to my reputation was done. The court ruled in Bradley's favor. I was left with almost nothing: no house, no significant assets, and minimal financial support. The life I had known was shattered, and I was left to pick up the pieces on my own. With the divorce finalized and my financial situation dire, I was forced to make drastic changes. I moved into a small apartment far removed from the comfortable home I had shared with Bradley. The loneliness was overwhelming and the sense of loss was profound. I took on multiple jobs to make ends meet, working long hours to pay bills and rebuild my life. The strain of starting over was immense, but it also gave me a sense of purpose and determination. I was determined to prove that I could survive and thrive despite the setbacks. As the months passed, I found myself reflecting on the events that had led to my downfall. The prank call was a catalyst, but it was clear that deeper issues had been festering in my marriage. Bradley and I had failed to communicate effectively, and our trust had eroded long before that fateful night. I began to focus on personal growth, seeking therapy to address my own issues and understand my actions better. Therapy helped me gain insights into my behavior and the dynamics of my relationship with Bradley. It also provided me with tools to build healthier relationships in the future. One of the hardest parts of my journey was finding forgiveness, both from Bradley and for myself. I reached out to Bradley hoping to apologize and seek closure. To my surprise, he agreed to meet. Our conversation was raw and honest. I apologized for the hurt I had caused and acknowledged the pain I had inflicted. Bradley, in turn, shared his own regrets and admitted that he had been struggling with his own issues. While we didn't reconcile, our conversation allowed us to part on better terms. It was a step towards healing, and it provided me with a sense of closure that I desperately needed. With time, I began to rebuild my life. I pursued further education to improve my job prospects and eventually found a stable career that provided financial security. I also rekindled old friendships and made new ones, creating a support system that helped me navigate the challenges of my new life. Through therapy and self-reflection, I learned to value myself and set boundaries in my relationships. I also discovered a passion for writing, using it as a therapeutic outlet to process my emotions and experiences. Years passed, and I found myself in a much better place, emotionally, financially, and personally. I had built a life that I was proud of, one that was rooted in self-respect and resilience. One day, while attending a friend's wedding, I met someone new. James was kind, understanding, and patient. We connected on a deep level, and as our relationship grew, I found myself experiencing a sense of happiness and fulfillment that I hadn't felt in a long time. James and I took things slowly, building a relationship based on trust and mutual respect. He understood my past and supported my journey towards healing. With him, I felt safe and valued, and I realized that I had finally found a partner who complemented me in every way. My journey from heartbreak to healing was long and arduous, but it taught me valuable lessons about trust, communication, and self-worth. I learned that true love is built on a foundation of mutual respect and honesty, and that effective communication is essential in any relationship. I also discovered the importance of self-forgiveness and personal growth. Mistakes and setbacks are inevitable, but they can also serve as opportunities for learning and growth. By addressing my own issues and seeking to understand myself better, I was able to build a healthier, more fulfilling life. As I look back on the events that led to the end of my marriage and the subsequent rebuilding of my life, I am filled with a sense of gratitude. While the journey was painful, it ultimately led me to a place of strength and self-awareness. I am now in a loving and supportive relationship with James, and we are building a future together based on the lessons we have both learned. I continue to pursue my passion for writing, using it as a way to connect with others and share my experiences. Looking back, I could see the many mistakes I had made and the lessons I had learned. The prank call was a foolish and thoughtless act, one that had far-reaching consequences. But it also taught me the importance of trust, respect, and communication in a relationship. I learned that actions have consequences, and that the bonds of trust can be fragile and easily broken. I understood the importance of considering the feelings of others and the need for open and honest communication. These lessons, though learned the hard way, helped me to grow and become a better person. The journey from that ill-fated night to my new life was long and difficult, filled with pain and challenges, but it also showed me my own strength and resilience. I discovered that I could overcome even the most devastating setbacks and build a new and fulfilling life. The support of friends, the love of my daughter, and the new relationship with James all helped me to heal and move forward. I found joy and purpose in new ways, learning to appreciate the small moments of happiness and the connections with those around me. As I stood on the threshold of my new life, I felt a sense of hope and excitement. The pain of my past would always be a part of me, but it no longer defined me. I had the strength to face the future and the wisdom to build a life that was filled with love, trust, and fulfillment. I embraced the opportunities before me, ready to create new memories and forge new connections. The journey had been difficult, but it had also made me stronger and more resilient. I knew that I could face whatever challenges lay ahead and that I had the support and love of those around me. I learned the power of love and forgiveness. I forgave myself for my past mistakes and found the courage to move forward. I learned to love myself and to accept the love and support of others. This journey of healing and growth was a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of love to overcome even the greatest challenges. As I looked at my daughter and the life I had built, I knew that I had found a new beginning. The pain of my past would always be a part of my story, but it was no longer the defining chapter. I had the strength, the love, and the wisdom to create a future filled with hope and happiness. And with that, I stepped forward, ready to embrace whatever the future held. I've learned the hard way that cheating is never the answer. It only leads to pain and destruction. So if you ever find yourself in a situation where a friend is encouraging you to do something wrong, think twice. Consider the consequences and choose the path of honesty and integrity. Mendy really did a number on me, but I'm not complaining because she taught me a lesson that no one would teach me. I am now in a better space. I am happy and looking forward to creating more great memories with the one that I love now. Please help me with advice for a better and fruitful relationship. The worst thing that can happen to anyone is getting betrayed by the ones you love. The pain is unexplainable. I'm sharing my story because I don't want anyone to ever go through what I went through. Even though I know I'm going to get backlash from how I handled the situation, I don't care, and I'm still going to tell it because it's my story, and no one can tell it better. I'm 100% sure the backlash is going to come from women because nowadays women have chosen to support each other in every situation, turning blind eyes to their mistakes. They call it women supporting women. How stupid. My wife cheated on me with a younger guy, and the unfortunate thing was that our daughters were aware. They even plotted together on how to get money from me and give it to her lover boy. Nothing on earth can hurt me more than what my wife and kids did to me. The pain is still fresh in my heart, but I'm learning to forgive myself for getting married to the shameless slut I got married to, and for choosing a horrible mother for my kids. She was a bad influence on them. Hey Reddit, my name is Nielsen and I'm 55 years old, Maria. My wife is 52 years old and we have been married for 20 years now. We have 2 daughters together. I always thought I made the right choice as regards my wife, but the events in the past months have proved that wrong. I never knew I was married to a monster and a cheater. I don't even know where to start my story from, but I guess I have to start from the very beginning, the very point I noticed we started drifting apart. I love my wife and kids so much that I literally could give up my life for them. They were my everything. They're the reason I work so hard. I wanted to give them the best of everything in the world. My family is my #1 priority in life. While I was busy working so hard, I never knew my family was crumbling, or I knew, but I decided to sweep it under the rug, thinking it was just a phase that would soon be over. My marriage to Maria hasn't always been pure bliss. It was full of a lot of ups and downs, mostly the downs maybe because our parenting was very different. As we grew old, we both wanted different things and had little things in common. It wasn't so in the early days of our marriage. We had a lot of things together, which was what made me fall in love with Maria in the first place. But over the years, I noticed we started drifting apart. I became a stranger in my own house. Maria and the kids isolated me in my own house. They never involved me in anything. They go out for fun activities and never thought to invite me. Sometimes when I jokingly tell them I would love to tag along with them to the beach, they get angry and say I'm too old to be going to the beach. I never read meanings to it because I thought they didn't want me to ruin their fun time. The kids always preferred Maria to me, and that's because our parenting styles differ, while Maria allows them to do as they wish because they are teenagers. I'm very keen on discipline and doing things the right way. Call me old school, but I'm of the school of the thought that children should be guided on life choices until they're 18 years old. Maria, on the other hand, believes in allowing the kids to do as they please because it's their lives. I have never seen Maria scold our kids before, even if they do the most outrageous things. She was only interested in being on their good side. She calls them her besties. I always tell her that as a parent, you don't have any business being your kid's best friend. Your job is to be a parent and a guardian. But Maria never listens to me. That's how I became the bad guy in my house. I became a mother and father because the person who was supposed to act as a mother was busy acting as a best friend. It was mentally exhausting because my kids hated me for it. They always compared me to their mom, but I never gave in to their emotional blackmail. Maria buys the kids age-inappropriate clothes, allows them to go to clubs, and gives them freedom to do a lot of nasty things. One day I caught our kids sneaking into the house at midnight when I confronted them about where they were coming from at an ungodly hour. They told me they were coming back from a club. I was too stunned to speak when I finally got a grip of myself. I asked them who gave them the permission to go out, and to my utmost surprise, they told me it was Maria. I was so furious that I almost brought down the whole house, but that's not the only crazy thing. They were both drunk. I was shocked to see why a 15-year-old and a 14-year-old were coming back home by midnight drunk and what business they had been in a club. I woke Maria up thinking she would join me in cautioning the kids, but I got the biggest shock of my life when she told me the kids did nothing wrong and that I should stop making a scene. She told me the kids are teenagers and can do as they please. She even told me she did worse as a teenager and still turned out fine. Talk about the blind leading the blind. That night I seized the kids' phones and grounded them for a month, but unknown to me, Maria got them a new phone, a better one at that, and whenever I'm out, she allows them to go out and they return before I get back. All these and more were the problems I was facing in my marriage. I honestly regretted the day I married that slut. Maria earns double what I earn, but she never assists in anything at home. I pay all the bills while she uses her money to buy designer clothes and luxurious fashion accessories. I was the one who got her the job she was doing in my best friend's firm, a decision I regretted later after I started seeing Maria's true colors. I honestly thought Maria was only spending money on material things, but I never knew she was spending her money and sometimes my money on younger guys she is old enough to give birth to. I was shocked, guys. I started suspecting Maria was cheating on me when she started staying out late, going on one trip or the other every damn week. Initially, I didn't read any meaning to it, but as time went on, the trips became frequent, and most times she goes on these supposedly work trips with our kids, and they were always excited and looking forward to it. It was at that point that I decided to dig deep, and I discovered what was happening. Most of the business trips were lies. I realized this when I hired a private detective to investigate everything for me. The private investigator followed Maria and the kids for weeks, and in less than a month, they brought a mountain of evidence which confirmed my suspicion. I couldn't believe my eyes, but the proofs were glaring. I never in my wildest imagination believed Maria was capable of such unspeakable things. She would tell me she was going on a business trip only to go lodge in a 5-star hotel with her young lovers. The crazy thing about all these is that she goes to these hotels with our kids. How disgusting, you must say. I said that too when I discovered what was going on behind my back. I was hurt when I found out what my beloved wife, or should I say stupid wife, was doing. The worst part was my kids were aware and were solidly behind their mother in her shameful acts. I didn't know what to do. A part of me wanted to go and just chase Maria and the kids out of my house, but after thoroughly thinking about it, I decided to go relax and carefully plan out my revenge. Because I knew chasing them out wouldn't make any much difference, rather it would be making things easy for them. Maria would continue her illicit affair and the kids would have the freedom they had always craved for. I decided to wait for the right opportunity to strike them where it will sting the most. But it wasn't easy for me. Pretending was harder than I thought. Waking up every day to see the face of a cheat and pretending to be happy with her when deep down all I wanted to do was make her pay for ruining my life was harder than I imagined, but I was patient and was carefully mapping out my revenge. But something unexpected happened along the line. My wife and kids changed all of a sudden. If I didn't know what they were doing behind my back, I would have sworn a miracle has taken place and just sees it as a sign of heaven trying to fix my marriage. Maria and the kids were trying everything possible to be in my good book. The kids all of a sudden started dressing well, going to school early and coming back early, doing the dishes, arranging their rooms, and doing things they never did before. It was impressive, but I wasn't impressed because it was too good to be true. Maria, on the other hand, started coming home immediately after closing from work. No late nights, no shopping. It was like a factory reset. Everyone was behaving normally, how they ought to behave, but I refused to be fooled. At that moment, it dawned on me something was wrong. Something wasn't adding up, but since they were not going out, it was hard for the private investigators to get to the point of everything. At that point, I decided to act fast before it was too late because if I didn't know any better, I would have fallen for their scam of a repentance. One day, Maria slept off with her phone in her hand. I was so happy I jumped up shouting, but I had to tune it down before my scream woke her up. At that moment, I knew there was no better opportunity than that, and I knew I might never get that kind of opportunity ever again, so I decided to grab the opportunity. Luckily for me, her phone was not locked yet. I looked and saw she was chatting with her friend before she slept off. I proceeded to read through the chat and I was dumbfounded. I got all the information I needed just by going through their chats. Maria was in serious trouble. One of her young lover boys whom she cheated on me with was blackmailing her with their sex video. Her lover boy was asking for an outrageous amount of money, but unfortunately, Maria didn't have that kind of money. So her friend advised her to take a new leave and ask me for the money. Then after she gets the money from me, she can continue with having fun. I even saw where she told her friend I don't satisfy her, that I'm already old and retired and that she needs them young. The younger the better. Seeing those messages broke me to pieces. I was shocked by what my stupid wife was saying. This is someone I have sacrificed everything for. I proceeded to go through her WhatsApp and found another shocking thing. I discovered my wife and kids have a group chat I'm not part of. That's where they discuss everything whenever I'm at home. I went through the group chat and saw where Maria told the kids she was being blackmailed by her lover, how they should act nice and decent when I'm around so they could get some money off me, and how she will also stop going out for the time being. That way I will think they have changed for real and start dancing to their tune, and after they get the money they're looking for, they go back to living their best life. At that moment, I could no longer hold my tears. Whoever says men don't cry hasn't experienced betrayal from family. The more I continued to read the messages, the more tears were flowing. I couldn't hold it anymore. I cried my eyes out, and I'm glad I did. It felt as if a weight was lifted off my shoulders. After connecting all the dots, I was glad I never fell for the antics. So at that point, I made up my mind to teach Maria and the kids a lesson that they will never forget. Update. Hey Reddit, I'm back to update you all on how it went down. The first thing I did was to do a DNA test for our 2 kids. I wanted to be sure if I was the father of those 2 spoiled rats. I took pieces of both their hair strands from their hairbrush and proceeded to do a DNA test, and unfortunately, they turned out to be my kids. I said unfortunately because if they weren't my kids, maybe I wouldn't have been this hurt, but then it is what it is. I waited for the right opportunity to start unleashing my venom, and the opportunity came sooner than I expected. One day, Maria told me her parents were celebrating their 50th wedding anniversary and we were invited. I smirked and told her we would all be there, including the kids. She went on to tell me how everyone was going to be there, from friends to relatives. I was excited because this was the kind of opportunity I was waiting for. I was so eager for the day to arrive. I forgot to mention in my previous post here that I took Maria's lover boy contact from her phone. I threatened the guy that he would be arrested if he didn't send me the video. Through the help of private detectives, I was able to get his location and everything about him. When he tried proving stubborn, I told him I knew where he lived and forwarded all his details to him. The stupid guy, scared for his life, quickly sent me the video. I also asked him to continue blackmailing Maria till she pays him and that he should never mention our little transaction to her. I told him he would eventually get rewarded, and the fool was excited. It seems I underestimated the guy's stupidity. I have never seen a fool like that before. But I was happy because it all worked to my advantage. I was happy because I finally got the video and the stupid guy continued blackmailing Maria with the video. I couldn't be happier. Seeing her depressed brings so much joy to my heart. I can't even explain the feeling. Fast forward to Maria's parents' anniversary. We arrived at the event and everyone was glaring from ear to ear, not knowing what I had cooked up. I quickly met with the technical guys and gave them the video. I asked them to play it when my wife was giving her speech because she told me she would be giving a speech about her parents having the perfect marriage. I told the guys the video was a compilation of Maria's parents' cute moments with their grandkids and that it was a surprise. With my plans in motion, I sat down and started sipping my wine, and soon, the drama started. It was finally time for Maria to give her speech, and boom, as she was up there spitting lies about her parents' fairy tale marriage, the video was playing. It took her time to understand what was happening because everyone was shouting. She thought they were excited about her stupid speech, not knowing she was the star of the show. I could see her parents bowing their heads in shame from where they were sitting. To say they were disappointed was an understatement. I bet they wanted the ground to open so badly and just swallow them up. When Maria finally realized what was happening, she couldn't move. She just stood there like a statue looking at her sex video. Oh, I forgot to mention to you guys that I couldn't bring myself to watch that disgusting video. The sight of my wife sleeping with a young boy old enough to be her son would mess up my mental health, so I refused to watch the video. I also caught our kids' reaction. They were shocked. Not shocked that their mom was having an affair with a younger guy because they were aware, but shocked that the video was projected for everyone to see. I could hear friends and family cursing her. Some even came to sympathize with me. At that moment, I left the event. My stupid kids tried following me, but I chased them back. They were so embarrassed too, but I drove them back to their mother. I mean, that's their best friend. They should stand with her in times of trouble. I left them at the event and went home to continue the next stage of my plans. When I got home, I threw Maria's belongings and the kids' belongings outside. Just as I was doing that, Maria returned with the kids and started begging me to forgive and forget, but I pushed her away. At that moment, our kids wanted to intervene, but I gave them both dirty slaps they will never forget in a hurry. That's how I chased them away that night. It was late, but I didn't care. Something in me died the day I stumbled on those chats. I don't think I have been able to completely get over everything yet. It still hurts anytime I remember how my wife and kids were scheming things behind my back. The following morning, I got a call from Maria's parents. They asked me to come see them. I already knew why they were calling, so I didn't want to go, but out of respect, I decided to go. I arrived there and saw Maria and the kids there looking like homeless people. Maria's parents begged me to forget everything and forgive Maria. That was when I explained everything that had happened so far to them. They were so ashamed they couldn't even utter a word. At that moment, I told Maria I was done with the marriage and she should be expecting divorce papers from my lawyers. She thought I was joking and maybe I would reconsider my decision soon. I left her parents' house and called my friend immediately. You guys remember I said I got Maria a high-paying job in my best friend's firm. I called him and asked him to sack Maria from his firm immediately. I explained everything to him and he did as I said. Immediately, my foolish wife got her sack letter. She started blowing up my phone with calls, but I refused to answer her calls. I even blocked her at a point. I guess it finally dawned on her that I wasn't playing. Guess who showed up at my door the next day? You guessed right. It was Maria. Maria was at my door the following day as early as 6 a.m. to plead. She told me I could do anything to her, but I should please not allow my friend to sack her from her job because that's the only thing she got right now. I told her she must be joking if she thought I would ever let her work in my friend's firm again. I told her she would have to suffer for the pain she has caused me. I told her she couldn't eat her cake and had it too. As expected, she told me she didn't know what came over her, that it was the devil's work, women and always blaming the devil for their foolishness. She said she was sorry and that I should forgive her, and let's start all over again. This time she is ready to do better because she has learned her lesson the hard way. But I told her she was only sorry because she got caught and not because she meant it. I told her to save herself the stress because I'm not going back on my decision and no one can change my mind. There's no going back. When she saw my mind was made up, she proceeded to leave, but I stopped and took the car keys from her hand. She was shocked. I bet she thought I was about to stop her from leaving. How delusional. I took the keys from her. It's her car, but I bought it for her with my money, so technically it's mine. She shamefully left the house with a taxi, but that's not before my lawyer served her with the divorce papers. Update. Hey Reddit, I'm back again to update you guys on my story. When the divorce proceedings started, one thing I was happy about was the fact that I listened to my parents about getting a prenup. My parents didn't really like Maria when I introduced her as the girl I wanted to spend the rest of my life with. They always said she didn't look like wife material. I mean, someone that can keep a home together. To my parents, Maria was a gold digger. I wished I listened to them. It would have saved me from the crisis I faced, but I'm glad I took their advice about getting a prenup. When I told Maria then that we should sign a prenup before the wedding, her mood changed. She flared up and started questioning whether I thought she was after my money, but she calmed down immediately. I told her no prenup, no wedding. At that moment, she told me if that would make me happy, then she would do it because my happiness is all that matters. That was how we signed a prenup. I'm grateful I stood my ground because Maria didn't get a damn after the divorce. She also got full custody of our kids because I didn't want to have anything to do with those ingrates. I already disowned them in my mind. To me, they're just people I was living with under the same roof before. I don't have any attachments to them. I didn't even try to fight to get their custody because I was very pissed at them. The kids tried contacting me several times after the divorce, but I blocked them each time they tried. I also stopped topping up their credit cards. Not just that I stopped paying their bills. The only thing I couldn't bring myself to stop doing was paying their school fees. I tried, but I couldn't do it. So I was responsible for the fees alone. I mean, they're still my kids after all. Maybe time will heal the wounds in my heart, but I doubt that will ever happen. But like they say never, right? As for Maria, I heard she later got a job at a smaller firm. She is now earning peanuts compared to what she used to earn before. But half bread, they say, is better than none, right? She and the kids are still living with her parents. It will take her years to save up some money and leave there, but I don't care. That's no longer my business. As for me, I'm currently seeing a therapist. The whole situation affected my mental health. I'm learning to forgive myself for choosing the wrong partner for myself and the wrong mother for my kids. Learning to finally let go of the painful memories and free myself from the prison I have kept myself in. I'm beginning to smile again, and that's a big step. I finally retired from work and I'm using my savings to tour around the world. I deserve it. I have worked hard for it. As for you keypad warriors that was bashing in my previous post, I just want to let you know that I don't care about your opinions. I did what I did and I don't have any regrets. To the young guys out there, learn from my story. Please look carefully before you choose a life partner, and know that you are not just choosing a wife for yourself, but a mother for kids. That's my story, guys. Hopefully I will be back to update you guys about my adventure.